Kanpai! I'm always doing it first, and like it always sounds like to me. No one else says it. But anyway, welcome, weebs.
It usually sounds fine and good on my end. It's gotta be the time lag difference. Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. Right.
Yeah.
So, welcome, weebs. We are here today, minus a host for this week's Kanpai Cast. Unfortunately, Loz isn't available. We try to put it off and things, but schedule conflicts and things. So it's just myself and Nasuth with a special guest of Michelle Postma.
Hello.
And yeah, so
Always good to have Michelle around.
On a what's it called finite curve, how much anime have you actually watched?
Can I include One Piece or can I not include that?
Of course you can.
Well,
Can I include that I've watched it like 2 times and then also watched Detective Conan, and I don't know. I've watched probably about a year like combined in like full watch time, but
That's not bad.
not as much lately.
But in variety of shows.
I've watched mostly between like also 2013 and 2018 like seasonal shows, and then 2019 some, but over the last 2 years I've been pretty busy, so not that much.
I will say though that like, so I did a Notice Me Senpai yesterday with what's called Thaylien, Nasuth, and Tobiah, and they were grilling me on my Anime Planet account, and I'd watched over 600 different anime shows, and it came to consecutively 4 months worth of what's called viewing. So yeah, I was like, well, yeah, I'm a crazy goober, but I'm not quite sure. But certainly, if you're watching One Piece, if you're up to date with One Piece, you're clearly watching all of the anime. So
yeah,
it is fine.
Well, it's like
It's the most
One
important.
Piece is about 1,000 episodes now, and Detective Conan is also over 1,000. I've watched that too.
Yeah.
It kind of just started with like the big shonen, and then just like the big long running anime, and it was like, oh, cool. There's some seasonal shows too, and yeah.
Cool. Right. So, moving on to housekeeping for this week. If you're a supporter watching this on early access, the timestamps may not be ready yet. But for everyone watching at the normal time, you can navigate to any section that you want using the timestamps or the chapter feature that YouTube offer, which God knows how long that will actually remain before you decide to remove it for everyone. Not
YouTube
pessimistic at
removing
all. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Who could expect that? I mean, like, they're introducing such great things like NFTs
Yeah.
to their platform.
They know where the future's
Are they
at.
actually Are they still going through with that?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, Susan did that entire like letter thing where they also said like, we know y'all hate the dislike removal, but we're still doing it. So, yeah, I don't know.
Fuck you. The hilarious thing is, you can still get that data, right?
Mm-hmm.
People
Well,
have made browser extensions to actually get the data.
I don't necessarily think you can anymore. I think they turned off the API, but there is this like return YouTube dislike thing, which is very well documented. It has stored over 50 billion videos of like the data of the past data, and now like based on channel averages and based on like the user that have installed the plugin, based on the data from that, like it's like kind of like guessing, or rather accurately guessing, like what the dislikes will be. So honestly, it's a great way of returning that, but the API is dead.
So it's third party. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Anyway, so that's pretty much for housekeeping. Oh no, one other piece. So Loz will not be available for Kanpai Cast from the 19th. Well, like the 25th, probably till about the 11th, maybe 18th of March. This is because he is in the process of moving, but we will hopefully have him at least for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So that is it for housekeeping, and now I'm going to hand over to Nasuth for news this week.
Blessedly, we only have 2 pieces of news this week. Nothing, not as long as last week's. The first one is, if you watch anime on Amazon Prime, prepare to pay more. The yearly rate is going up from $119 to $139, and the monthly rate is going to go up from $12.99 to $14.99. They made $14.3 billion in profit last year, but they plan on using this increase to triple the amount of shows that they actually have as premieres. So just get ready for that.
I mean, sorry, just to follow up, I don't know how much Prime Video you guys watch, but like the only thing that I've actually enjoyed thus far has been the new Jack Reacher series. But I'm like, I think I'm going to cancel my Amazon Prime membership again.
I really liked The Boys, and I really liked the other superhero one that, the huge meme was about for a while, or was around for a while.
Invincible?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Well, I've seen those memes yet. I've not seen the show yet, but yeah, I've seen the memes.
It's pretty good.
Invincible's really good.
All right, well, I'll give it a watch, I guess. And yeah, I mean, Amazon Prime, I think, isn't that the same Amazon Prime where you can also do, like, Twitch things with? Like, go and, like, sub to Nasuth for free with your Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so, like, there's a bunch in that.
There are indeed other perks, it's true.
Those have a gaming division, don't they?
I don't?
Oh, what?
Yeah. Isn't that the one that's
New
the
World is
New
there?
World? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only one that is there, because everything else they've pulled the plug on.
Yeah, from time to time I still see that people are like, oh, there's something like a game free on Prime Gaming. Who knows, maybe with like the acquisitions that are going on, maybe Bezos feels like, yo, let me buy some studio. Who knows, might be crazy.
Right, so the next one, I really, really have to stress that this is only a rumor. I dug a little bit into it, but I'm no journalist, so take this with a huge lump of salt. But a lot of people think that there's going to be a Nier Automata anime coming soon, sparked by the registration of a domain name Nier-anime from somewhere in Japan, and a Twitter post by a rumored industry insider Spanku, which is at Twitter on @SpankU_U, who has leaked other projects in the past, most recently the Netflix adaptation of Bastard. As of this recording, there has been no confirmation, but keep an eye out. Maybe you'll get lucky.
I mean, there are multiple elements to the Nier franchise. We've got Nier Replicant, Nier Automata, and Nier Resurrection, I think was the mobile game. So this could just be an entirely separate thing that's, completely. But if it is, oh my god,
even if it's just set in the Nier universe.
Yokotaro. It needs to be written by fucking Yokotaro, and if it isn't, I'm gonna lose my goddamn shit.
Actually, if I'm allowed to go on a bit of a tangent, like games of which anime have been made, like there are some out there, especially if like JRPGs, they tend to like first make a game and then make an anime series about it, or kind of do that at the same time. How do you guys feel about those? Like, have you played any games that then afterwards they made animes about, and how do you guys like them overall? Have you seen them?
I haven't. A lot of the ones that I've watched lately that I've ended up dropping have been based on games, although not always like mobile games. But that's not always true either. I want to say that there's been at least one or two that were based on a game that I actually kept going with, but I can't remember for sure.
I'm trying to quickly check to see what I've seen that's like based on a game.
Yeah.
So the great thing about Anime Planet is that I can filter by is there a video based on a video game, based on a just gonna do based on a video game. So apply filters. I've actually not watched anything that was based on remove that. Try that again. So I've not watched anything that's based on a video game. I'm wondering.
That's not true though, because you watched at least a couple of episodes of Deep Insanity.
Yeah, but is that based on a mobile game?
No, it's based on a video game. I think it's a PlayStation game.
Did I actually put it down on my watch list?
I saw it on there. Yeah.
Actually, weirdly enough, based on a mobile game, the only one that Anime Planet's coming up with. Wait, hold on, that's more. Oh, I'm a giant idiot. I'm a giant fecking idiot. Bear with me 2 seconds. Let me actually be less of a giant fecking idiot and make sure that have the watched selected as opposed to watching.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not. So actually, no. To be fair, Castlevania has been utterly amazing.
Yeah. That's one of them, definitely.
The Persona 4 anime I've watched, again, absolutely amazing. Devil May Cry was kind of meh. Gungrave was very meh. Final Fantasy VII, big pile of meh. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's more leaning towards the meh than anything else.
It's like when Hollywood tries to make a movie based on a video game, it usually just doesn't turn out well for some reason.
Yeah, but anime does it so much better.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to check. In terms of mobile games, though, the only ones that I've watched are Fate Grand Order, which I actually quite liked. Then there was Rage of Bahamut Genesis. Again, I quite liked. Rage of Bahamut Virgin Soul, which, again, I really, really liked. So, yeah, there we go. Word.
Well, so let's hope that Nier, if it comes out, will be on the good end. Because, like, the thing which especially touched me with Nier, if you haven't played it yet because you're not much of a gamer, like, I'm sorry, but you have to play this. Like, everyone's obliged to play this. Xeno has been drilling me for years to go play it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, I'll play it sometime. Then I played it, and I was like, okay, I should have done this way sooner.
Yep.
But the thing that really worked well for me in that game, and with so many games, that you spend hours with like these characters and playing around as them, and like you're sharing the experience of like wandering around through this world. And anime definitely can bring you into these worlds as well, but it's a different way. And I'm really curious if they're going to adapt that to like an anime format, especially if they're going to do it like 20-minute episodes. Like, how well is that going to translate? So I would love to see it like come into fruition into like an anime series. But like, I really don't know what to expect. I don't think they should do a one-to-one complete, like, oh, let us just take the storyline and copy it and like just make it an anime and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll see what happens if it even comes out. But good news.
I like Xeno's idea of
3 million. Go on.
Sorry, no, I like your idea of kind of maybe having it as another version of, since they've had other versions of Nier, maybe having an adaptation that's not necessarily connected to the others directly.
It will be connected directly, right? But there'll be such a huge monumental time gap. It's because Nier Automata is off the back of Nier Replicant, right? And Nier Replicant is off the back of Drakengard 1?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Drakengard 1, because Drakengard 3 was a prequel, I think. I'm not entirely sure. So, again, I think Nier Resurrection, I've never played Resurrection. That, again, may be, like, so many, like, thousands of years in the future. So, time will tell. Time will tell. But yeah, I think that's it we have for the news. Should we move on to the topic?
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Cool. Right. So I messaged Michelle. I asked Michelle to be on the show, and I gave Michelle a list of, hey, what do you want to talk about? And you decided that you wanted to talk about sub versus dub, which is, very often quite a highlighted thing within... Where the fuck is my pen? Quite a highlighted thing within anime culture, sub versus dub. Nasuth, feel free to just slap on the... Yeah. So, okay. My initial question to everyone is... What do you feel are good reasons for having a dub of an anime?
I can think of a few off the top of my head. It makes it more accessible to people who might have trouble, reading and watching the show at the same time. It makes it more accessible to people who want to work or do something else and still absorb the story.
Can we quickly pause?
Yeah. Finally.
After much hardship.
Or like 2 seconds for you watching.
Weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Okay, so for our benefit, you were talking about the accessibility brought in by having dubs. What else could we say that dubs are, like, what are the potential good reasons are there to dubs?
So I think that the idea of dubs being a thing that people worry about kind of really comes around. Like, the first time I came around was in the anime fandom, basically. Like, when I was watching something and I knew that to be an anime, and people would be talking about, oh, the dub is so much better or so much worse, sort of thing. Before, like, that was a thing, before I used to watch series because they were anime, I used to watch them on TV. And on TV, they were all dubbed into our local language, which actually made a lot of sense because pretty much everything on our TV is our local language. So I think when it comes to reaching audiences, especially abroad, on a TV channel, which maybe that's not what's happening anymore these days, since, parents like send kids to watch god-awful things on YouTube. But for the few responsible parents who still let their kids watch TV, I think that especially getting into anime like early on, and adopting a more mainstream audience, I think dub has a pretty good track record of doing that. I don't think Pokemon would have gotten anywhere near the recognition that it has, or Dragon Ball for that matter, if it only been Japanese with subtitles and then just aired it like, I don't know, 7 to 8 in the morning on like the local Cartoon Network sort of thing.
So I know that with my personal experience, I saw more adult stuff more age restricted. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically,
mature,
older teenagers, mature. Sure, yeah, let's go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing more mature stuff for anime before I saw anything that was targeted at kids. So I watched the Guyver was one of the first anime I ever watched. And that is certainly not targeted for kids. That was like 15/18 age restriction. But Pokemon is very distinctly targeted at kids. So do you think that anime still could have the potential of being as popular as it is today, without the necessity to push it towards children? Or do we need to recognize the fact that children are what mainstreamed anime?
It would depend on what you mean with popular, or like as popular.
So, for example, at university there were anime society. So there was an anime society that I could go to, which was quite clearly a subset of students that had experienced anime to some degree, probably not things like Pokemon, because that was quite late in our lives. But do you think maybe things like Gundam Wing, Dragon Ball Z, Tenchi Muyo, that really realistically brought people to the society, right?
So like
there was even more,
like the Toonami era, essentially.
Yeah. But my question is, without the Toonami era, right? Whatever. Do you think that these shows, so that anime could still be as popular in the West?
I think it yes and no, in the sense of I think it would still be like relatively, maybe even massively popular, in the same sense that, for instance, all right, let me first continue on with what you said about university, about like having these clubs. These things would still definitely exist, because I know I've been part of like people that enjoy anime, enjoy to like watch and then convert people by saying, oh, you should watch this series, and the thing that we share is definitely the sub version, especially of more mature anime. They tend to be further along. We share it. If you like, what I've also found is like as I grow older, I like to watch content in its like original language. I find dubbed to be a little bit weird because it wasn't really made for it. So I think that with that, like you would still have. I don't really think that you would see such a drastic change. I think maybe people that grow up with watching it early on as kids, the shows, and then like move forward, like you'll have people maybe like tuning in later in life. However, I think that if like the popularity or the success of anime as a whole in the West like would be comparable to something like YouTube, for instance. If let's say that the like content aimed at kids would be taken away completely from YouTube, and like we'd still be left with like the more mature content, like PewDiePie would still be as successful. He would still have 110 million subscribers. However, there would be like these 200 million, 1 billion viewed kids videos that just would not exist. And I think that there is obviously, seeing like how long the Pokemon company has been going on, how much franchising, how much they're still squeezing out of Dragon Ball all these like years later with like new, like we just had Dragon Ball Super, and who knows, maybe there will be like a new iteration in the series soon. I don't know. But seeing their success, I think that there is a success that's definitely not to be underestimated. Though, does the entire anime industry hinge on these shows being dubbed and these shows being maybe for like a smaller, like younger audience? Or like, yeah, smaller, I mean like in size, not in like, you know, the amount of revenue. I don't think so. I think that it would also perfectly thrive well with, you know, just being subbed and being more mature. But you would just have like less success in a particular area. But what do you guys think?
So I know people that are adults who absolutely refuse to watch anything with subtitles. Doesn't matter, you know, they'll stay away from foreign films, just anything like that. I don't know how big of a slice of the population that is, but I know they exist. That said, on the subject of like, would the anime still be as popular over here? I think the internet would have taken the place of, if Toonami had never existed, I think the internet would have still helped spread it around. Would it be as big? Possibly not, because I think you'd have a lot more sub stuff than dubs, but dubs were also pretty big in the 90s, so I don't know, you probably could.
So, I mean, as I'm listening to you guys, Michelle pointed out something that was really, like, hit the nail on the head for me, which was raising the point about Pokemon. With Pokemon being one of the largest franchises, if not the largest franchise in the entire world, coming out of Japan, it only makes sense that, you know, the Western world would want to capitalize on that, you know. So like, you know, Pokemon is so goddamn popular in Japan, and you know, just East Asia. How could it not be popular in other parts of the world? And obviously, you know, Pokemon's taken off so massively, and it's so accepted around the world. You know, adults play it as much as kids play it. So it's sort of like, I don't know if you've heard about this, but like, you know, people will say Shrek is a movie for all ages because there's always something there for everyone. And I think that no matter what, with something as popular as Pokemon, it's going to make its way over to the West, and no matter what, they will want to make it as successful as they can, so they'll try to make it as, oh gosh, what's the word? Oh crap, what's the word?
Accessible?
Yes, that's literally it. They'll make it as accessible as they can. So being subtitles is a no-go. Yeah, so they'll ditch that in a heartbeat. So I think no matter what, dubbed shows are kind like, the popularity of anime through dubbed shows and things, it's inevitable.
Yeah,
right?
it was just who got there first.
Yeah, so okay. Any thoughts off the back of that? Any points you guys want? I got more points I want to raise, but if there's more natural progression, like
No, I mean it makes sense. I think honestly, I don't necessarily see a downside with localizing something. Like the thing that kind of pops into my head is you say like making it more accessible. I'm like, yeah, I mean obviously that would include like changing like the voices to be to be the local language. I remember watching a lot of back in the day when I was thinking about localization, I remember always like you would watch shows or movies and they would be localized to a language, but all the signs would always still be in the foreign language. And then around, I think the 2010s or so, you started seeing signs change and stuff, things in the background that normally wouldn't be, which would be very impressive. Like, wow, that's so cool. But that also got me thinking about, well, what if they go too aggressive, with how some of the Funimation stuff has definitely been localized quite far in the States, how some things very jokingly have been changed in Pokemon, which I think Nasuth, you have mentioned sometimes.
The jelly donuts?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. I've never even watched Pokemon, and I know about that.
Yeah.
Well, let's actually, to be fair, I think the more criminal one is actually One Piece. Why not actually just bring that to our foreground? Because Michelle, you wanted to, this was one that you thought could lend credence to this topic. So here, we've had things where. Did you click on it?
Yeah.
Is it not changing?
It's coming up soon.
It's got to be coming up soon.
So we've had things like it's I know why it's not working. Shit.
Pause.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it.
He's gonna do live wizardry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 1999. There we go. Hold on. I can just do this. I'll have to change the shows because you broke it.
Yeah. It's all my fault.
You and your
my external hard drive. I should have known better than to put it on there. I mean,
but I think the point I'm trying to make is that One Piece was one of the shows that suffered the most when it came to interference from the distribution studio. So when 4Kids were like, we want it more accessible to kids, so we can't have this in there, we can't have that in there, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
it got it even worse than Yu-Gi-Oh did, didn't it?
Much worse.
Yeah,
right? So
because Yu-Gi-Oh was already targeted at kids. Yeah.
So things like Zorro's childhood friend, the whole retcon of that character actually dying. That was changed. The fact that the muskets were turned into water pistols. Sanji's cigarette was turned into a lollipop. There were so many different things that were, the cookies that were turned inside, the onigiri that were turned into cookies that when smashed and picked up again were turned back into whole cookies rather than smashed cookies, or it's all sorts of weird and wonderful shit like this, and all for the idea of being able to sell this at a younger age that can then be capitalized upon.
Yeah.
Right. How do you guys feel about changing the source material to do this sort of stuff?
To do that sort of stuff? Terrible. I don't know. It's not a good idea.
So just to clarify, changing the source material to target it at a younger generation.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% against that. Unless it's incredibly minor edits, like I guess you hear the stories about like Dragon Ball Z where they take out some of the blood or they change the beer to juice. I'm kind of okay with that, even though it's dumb. But when you start changing like the entire story, that's not right. You shouldn't do that. That's completely changing like the artist's vision and then trying to capitalize on it.
I think I'm trying to think like let's imagine you're an executive at like 4 kids and you want to broadcast this and you've just seen, I think Pokemon was a little bit earlier, I'm not quite sure. I don't know, like these, yeah, it was. So like you're seeing that success, you're seeing that this series here is basically like massively taken off in Japan. It's got a whole entire like backlog of like a manga. There is an entire idea. Obviously they didn't know it was going to run for about 20 or so years. We still don't know if it's going to reach its conclusion. Recently, what's it called? The creator of One Piece has come out and said, well, I was thinking about like ending it off in a couple of years, but now like Corona's hit and I think I just added like 10 years to this to the series now, so hell yeah. But if you're looking at that and you're like, oh man, I don't really know what this thing is about, but you know, this Pokemon thing is super popular with the kids right now. So this thing looks colorful. This thing looks like pirates and stuff, and it looks like things we can sell. Let's market it to kids. Oh shoot, there is blood in here. There is guns in here. Actually, I'm kind of surprised why an American broadcaster would be like very wary of guns. I mean, like, isn't that America's thing? But hey, you know. And then you have like smoking and stuff, which they don't really tolerate, and like we can't show that. And it's like I can imagine that you may want to. I can imagine really minor edits. For instance, recently I was watching a series called Tokyo Revengers, which honestly is a really, really good series. I would recommend people to watch it if you haven't seen it yet. It's about basically like gang wars in Tokyo. Apparently the author of that was actually also back in the day part of like one of these gangs, and he kind of was inspired to like make this series because he wanted to tell someone like what it was like back then. And then he made this show, which basically centers around the main character being able to like jump back and forth in time, like between like 12 years into the future or like 12 years in the past and now. And with that, he's trying to like prevent all sorts of like tragic things from happening. It's a very interesting show. And I really want to continue on like reading the manga because the first season ends. I was like, oh, I want to read more. And I'm opening the manga, and the first thing that I open up to is like a huge swastika. I'm like, okay. But apparently it's like the flipped around one, which like used a lot in Asia for what's it called, like it has a different meaning there. But me as a European, I was like, okay, like I was kind of taken aback by that. We don't really use that imagery. So I can imagine if you're airing that on especially 90s American television, and like there would be a show that would have symbolism like that in there. I can imagine that producers might be like, maybe we can just like hide that a little bit. Maybe like these sorts of things I can imagine for TV. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it. I can imagine that they would do that though. However, if you're gonna like change major plot points about main characters, major things, major consequences in like the series, I don't think that you really like you can't change the story. Like things are gonna continue on. Like later on, more and more things gonna happen if you're gonna like retcon the story at the start. This is gonna go on for 20 years. How are you gonna manage that? So then I think like you will never be able to do a good enough job into like changing the age rating down. If you want to do that, then maybe just make a spin-off series. Like commission people to like make a spin-off series that's for like a younger audience. You'll still piss off a fan base. They'll be like, oh, but this is not the original. At least you can like control that more and actually like aim that better. But trying to like move down the age ratings on like an ongoing series, I don't think you can do that in any way, shape, or form good.
So one thing I think is worth contemplating is the difference between the criteria in the different countries of how to define the age ratings. So I know in the UK, the first Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, when it first aired and first came out, it was an 18, right? But as the years went on, it was reduced down to a 15. You know, it was reassessing things. But I feel that some of the standards that are acceptable in Japan aren't necessarily acceptable in the like other parts of the world. So, for example, in Japan, nudity is okay as long as it's not trying to promote arousal, active sexuality and things like this. So there's nothing wrong with that. However, in America, that doesn't exist. Nudity is considered pornography, right? Just flat out, right? So, the kids didn't have access to the same content, right? So my point is that if something is considered suitable for kids in Japan, it may not be considered suitable for kids in other parts of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which then begs the question, if the age rating system that's in place deems it not suitable in the new region, right? For let's say the UK, right? I'm not going to pick on America the whole time. Let's say the UK. If it's not suitable in the UK, should it be changed to be suitable? My personal answer is no, right? It should remain like it's a case of it comes to the UK and it's like, no, this isn't suitable for kids, but it is suitable for young adults, right? Then it's a 12A. Then just slap a 12A on it, right? It's not U for universal, it's a 12A, right? What's the harm in that?
Well, what would be the harm? Okay, oh my God, like this is. I like the example you brought up with it being like let's say nudity is allowed in Japan, as long as it's not like meant to be like arousal. And this is going to be a super bad example because most of the time these things are fan service, and I like, why else would they put them in there than to like arouse the fans sort of thing? But let's say that you were to have like a 13 like teen show sort of thing, which then has like one of those bathtub scenes, right? And that is pretty much the only thing that this like UK agency comes around with and says like the show is perfectly fine. However, like there's this like bathtub scene, and honestly, like this, we don't like this, right? Like we don't do nudity here. It's not allowed. The rest of it is a-okay, but that's just that one thing. We gotta put it up to like an 18 plus. However, this is like a 13 show, so it like 18 plus people like they might like watch this and be like, oh, be slightly engaged or like find it fun, but like it's not entirely the target market. Like how much harm would that be in just like in that one scene? Adding just like the normal like steam sort of thing that like you don't see the arousal, like it's not full nudity sort of thing.
So there's actually a working example for this, and I'm going to give you the example so you can elaborate. So the series Chobbits, right? In Chobbits there is the whole premise that one of the characters is confused about his situation with his robot android girl that he picked up off the garbage pile, right? In Japan, it is commonplace for people to bathe together in an onsen, right? In a public bathhouse, right? And in this scene, they go to, so the two male characters, right? Both go to the onsen. They both go to, not the onsen, sorry, it's like the public bathhouse. They both go to the public bathhouse and they're bathing and they're in the bath together and they're talking to each other. Our main male protagonist freaks the crap out because he's so stressed at the situation. He stands up and you can see his dong flapping around as he's freaking out, right? Not only did they cut out the part where they were in the bath and he was freaking out. They cut out the entire reference to going to the bathhouse and all the scenes involving the bathhouse, going to the bathhouse, registering at the bathhouse, having the bath, right? They took out the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And there's no version with an that's available in the West that has that scene.
Yeah. No, like that is, in my opinion, that's pretty much not very acceptable, because at that point in time, like, you're changing the material, you're changing the story, you're actually changing major parts of it. The thing that I was that I would have in mind is, like, let's say you have a problem with, like, the dong on the screen is, like, just, like, a lot of times there's steam in those bathhouses, so just increase the steam because, like, what added value does it have? You can see that particular part. Like, that doesn't have, as far as I can imagine, I haven't seen the thing, maybe that's, like, the most important plot point, who knows, I don't imagine it, but, like, I would imagine that that's something that you can, like, if that's a small little detail that doesn't impact the story at all, then hey, like, that's all right. I would say, just in the same way, like, let's say there would be symbolism which, like, in, like, certain parts of the world means something and in other parts of the world means a completely different thing, and it's not integral to the story. It's just, like, they're passing by, sort of thing, and, like, it's just in the background. Like, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with people with these tiny little things being changed, but if it's, like, major plot points, if it's, like, parts of the story being cut, if it's like, important things that are, like, integral to the story, or, like, some character, like we mentioned Sanji, who basically in the Japanese version, like, he smokes, and that's, like, a large part of his character, and then when it comes to, like, the 4Kids version, it's like, oh yeah, he has a lollipop, and, like, in the later episodes it's gone. It's like, dude, like, you're changing the character, man. You're changing the character. Like, that doesn't work. So I think it really depends on, like, how major it is. If it's just, like, a minor, small little detail, like, you're just hiding a dong, it's like, I don't think that's a problem. But, like, cutting out, like, everything about a bathhouse is like, okay, so now you've changed the entire story. Like, you're trying to make it something else, which it isn't. So either make a spin-off or don't broadcast it.
Okay, I have another working example for you. However, I want to give Nasuth the opportunity to say anything, because he's been quiet for a little bit.
Yes,
and he has feelings about Chobits.
No, actually, I'm not gonna talk about Chobits. Surprisingly, even though I do have very strong negative feelings towards it. I was thinking that while listening to this, what if they do a dual release, right? So they release one version that has these minor edits that make it acceptable for the actual target age range, but then they also release here's the full unrated version that anyone you can get later. If you really love this show, you can see the full release later.
So weirdly enough, that actually leads into the other working example of Tenchi Muyo. Right? So in Tenchi Muyo, they made a 4Kids version of this show where the third episode, I'm pretty sure it's the third episode. I used to have these memorized, right? That's how much I was into anime at the time, but, like, now I've watched too much and I can't retain it all, right? So the big thing about Tenchi Muyo was that it's the third episode, they do actually go to an onsen, right? It's an actual proper onsen. It's proper hot springs resort, and in the hot springs, you can either cover yourself with a towel or you go around in the nut, right? And the 4Kids version, they changed all of the female characters to be wearing bathing suits, right? Bikinis, swimsuits, whatever you want. And they were poorly added on, right? So you can see, like, on Ryoko here, she's got, like, her clothing has black outlines. The swimsuits and the bikinis did not. But regardless of that, so the other side was again a bit of Japan's culture, where the father character was like, hey, son, let's do some peeping, right? And, that again was just completely stripped out of the 4Kids version. So there were so many jokes that were hidden away or removed entirely. But the important part was you could get a hold of a version of Tenchi Muyo. I own it, right? That is dubbed with the same vocals, same voice cast, uncensored, right? By 4Kids. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm on board for that, but a part of me feels it's important that is you're made aware of this, that there is a version of this where it's unedited, where the muskets aren't turned into water pistols, where Sanji is actually smoking a cigarette, where Zoro's friend, it's actually fucking Zoro, not Zolo, where Zoro's friend is oh shit, what's the name of the damn thing? Dead, instead of they went away for a trip.
They went to a farm.
They went to a farm. But like, so I mean, a part of me feels that don't target this to an audience that it's not suitable for.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, how much of a modern day problem is this still? In the sense of, obviously back in the day, there was limited like airtime where a lot of these shows would be able to be seen. Like a lot of us like saw our first anime probably on television where there was limited time slots. I think now a lot more shows are actually being streamed on things like Crunchyroll, on things like Netflix, on things like other sites. So there you don't have to deal with the limited amount of like airspace that is on like a TV channel, and because of that, people are able to choose more like a wider variety of shows, become more engaged with them. And I think because of that, you don't necessarily have to be like, okay, this show needs to be here on this kids channel, it needs to like fit this exact criteria. Right now I feel a lot more things, especially on streaming services, or especially that are like available online, it's like you can kind of throw them out of line and people like the audience will find itself for it. Obviously you're going to maybe market it a little bit better, but like a lot of times like you'll find a right suitable audience for it. And what you'll find is, let's say you were to dub something and like change it all sorts of ways, people will be able to find the original version very easily online. So like I'm wondering whether right now like there are still a lot of anime that are actively being dubbed and completely changed because like it needs to fit like these like TV like regulations, or whether right now it's getting like a little bit more loose because like you can find an audience for a lot of these things, and you can also find the source material for a lot of these things, so you can very quickly like fact check them as audience as well and be like, yeah, you know, we ain't stupid, we know what the hell is going on here, like we don't agree with this. So
I think it's also important to remember that back then there was this huge stigma that cartoons were for kids, right? So you had the underground anime people that watched really good, you know, adult stuff. And then you had these companies that wanted to push it to people that were like, oh, well, we got to make it for kids because it's a cartoon. Adults aren't going to watch it. And I think that's changed a lot too, as more and more like adult cartoons. And I don't want to say like adult like pornography, but like stuff like we talked about it earlier, Invincible, stuff like that's come out that's made it more mainstream. Yeah. Rick and Morty, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Rick and Morty actually has boobs. Right, like more often than not they're weirdly grotesque ones, but still, like, you know, where's the bikinis, Rick and Morty? Where's the bikini? Sorry.
to be honest, like there is nothing there the regulation agency can do any more efforts than say allowed like the dragon episode. Like holy shit, that was a weird one.
Oh god,
you remember that one? Oh my god.
Oh god, yeah. I'm not gonna say it. I will not say it. I walked into the office at one point. I just accused one of my work colleagues of being a shameful dragon. There you go. So right, should we go back? Should we rerail? Let's rerail this train. Okay, so there's obviously a place for dubbing anime, right? Specifically, so it can popularize it in the Western world, and you know, bring its attention to more people. I know that my baby cousin, she probably wouldn't have gotten into some of the anime that she watches, Jesus Christ, without it being dubbed, right? But at the same time, I feel that there needs to be that stigma of cartoons are for kids needs to really buck the fuck up in the Western world, because my cousin, she's very young, right? She is in the double digits, but she's a young teenager, right? And she has watched things like Attack on Titan. And to me, I'm sorry, she's too young for Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan has some very serious themes behind it, right?
My little cousin, when he was like 11, watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and got hooked on that. So, yeah.
JoJo...
It's weird, that's all. It's not as bad as Attack on Titan. It's just, but still...
Yeah.
It's a little heavy for a kid, I'd think.
Well, let me put it this way. I think that you're right to be concerned with Attack on Titan definitely being a very depressing and dark and like very gory show as well. It's like oof. It's it starts out with medieval Spider-Man just zipping through a town fighting titans, and you're like, oh hell yeah, I'm all here for it. And my god, does it get dark. I remember watching season 1 when it came out. I was super into it, and then it took a long time for season 2 to come out, and then I watched season 2 and 3 consecutively, and I had to drop it at a certain point in time because it was kind of like Halo Reach, which I've recently played, which is the entire experience was you win some and you lose big. You win some, you lose big. It's just it hurts your soul and you just start losing hope, sort of thing, which is such an accurate portrayal of how a lot of these things go, and especially the end of Attack on Titan. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the end of Attack on Titan is where the story goes to. It's dark, man. It is dark. But another series which similarly is very dark, Evangelion. The thing with Evangelion is I have seen it way back when, and I need to rewatch it because back then.
No, you really don't. No, it's fine.
No, I do.
Watch the new ones. Watch the new ones. They're fine.
No,
the movies.
Yeah.
But the reason why I want to rewatch it is because I watched it way back when, before I knew much about it. So I've seen it. It was a rather impressive series to me, but I didn't really engage much with it in a more deeper sense. I didn't really understand a lot of the meaning of what I was watching. I was kind of watching this, it kind of felt old. I was kind of I don't know, 14 years old or so when I was watching it, so it didn't connect with me as much. But then I go back to it, but I think if I go back to it, there will be, it will be darker for me to watch because I will understand more of what is being conveyed. And I think that may also be the case with, for instance, your cousin watching Attack on Titan. It's it may be that a lot of the things that we're connecting to in the way that we're relating with characters and stuff, in the way that we can feel their suffering, is because we have ways to connect with that, and we have ways to identify with that, and we're oh, I can feel this, and this is so intense. Whereas the younger people are maybe they may not be able to relate with that. And also I would also have a little bit more faith in young teen sort of thing, because when I was in young teens, everyone was playing 18 plus Call of Duty games, and everyone was watching the 18 plus movies because we were oh yeah, we know we can handle this. Obviously these age ratings are there for a reason, so there's not me saying everyone go watch that shit, but if you watch that shit, you already watch that shit, so I'm not gonna tell you don't do it because I'm not your mom or your dad. I'm just a random dude. So good.
But at the same time, so when I first watched the Guyver, right, the 91 adaptation of the I think it's 89 and 91 adaptation of the Guyver, I was around 12, 13 years old, right? And it was sold on VHS cassette tapes. If you're old enough to know what a VHS cassette tape is, congratulations. You're old, just like me. And
you said congratulations. I was ready to be excited. Then I get hit with a shovel.
I still have a VCR.
Fuck off. All right, so there's there was one episode per VHS. So in order to watch the whole series, you had to buy 12 VHS tapes, right? They weren't cheap to begin with. The next thing is the level of gore in the Guyver was very heavy, right? So the basically this guy in a power suit fights this monster that's like the Hulk, and he breaks the Hulk's arms at the elbow. There's blood gushing everywhere, animated blood nonetheless, gushing everywhere. You can see the bone. I was 13, right? It was age rated and 18, and basically my dad had to and just talk about, like, it's not it's animated, it's not real, nothing like this, and I still had to have that talk, right? It was very gory, and I'd never seen anything to this level of gore at that point in time. Whose cousin was it that was 11 and watched JoJo?
Mine.
Nasuth's.
Yeah, right. So I personally feel that there should be like another 2 years before watching JoJo, because in that short space of time, the human brain develops so much, right? Like being able to properly take in that stuff and processing it properly. Otherwise you don't, you petrify the poor child, going like, sorry, I'm going back to Attack on Titan. Like, these giant, massive, naked people are eating smaller people my size.
It does depend, like the context in which you grew up in, because yes, it can be very traumatic for a kid, and especially around that age, which are very formative years. But it also really depends around the context, because a bit of a side tangent, but like a few years back, about 5 years back, I went to Canada to visit my family. And basically, when we were there, like my cousin had actually gone out and like he hunted a bear like that year. Or like they have these licenses which they like sell, and like there are special like regulations around when you can do it, and like how you're allowed to do it. Like you have to go for all these hoops, but he was allowed to do it. He shot one, and then when we were there, like he got the hide of the bear, like he turned that into like I wouldn't say a rug, but like a rug-like thing that you can like put in your living room. It was very impressive. But what was more impressive is that he showed that when when you go hunting and you kill an animal like that, you have to skin it, and like he showed a picture of like him skinning like the bear, and my like cousins that were like 3 and 1 were around that, and we're looking at the phone like, oh yeah, because apparently that's a very normal thing. Like even when we were there, like there was we were like at their place, and all of a sudden like we come back late at night, and he, like my cousin hears something, and he goes for his hunting rifle, and like he rushes into like the bushes, and then he pops a couple of shots, and there's like a porcupine, and he shot it. And the reason why he shot it is because like he has a couple of dogs, and if the dogs like go grab the porcupine, like he's got his quills, and those will just like get stuck in like the dog's mouth, and it will be like hell. Like to get that out, it's like you don't want to deal with that. So it's better to shoot the darn thing than like have to go to the vet with your dog and like have to remove all these like quills and stuff. So it's like I can't imagine that. I come here from like urban Europe. I've never like held a gun in my life. I've never like hunted anything. I've never like the wildest animals I see are like the ducks in the park. So to see like images of like an animal like skinned, like seeing like someone like hunt like animals, like I was like blown away. But these kids, like they grow up there, and like to them it's like the most normal thing in the world, because it's something that kind of happens. There's animals around. Sometimes like there'll be coyotes, and then like the dogs, like they have big dogs that will they'll be there to fend off like the coyotes from like the what's it called, like the farm animals. And it's like they grow up with it, so it is very much also like how it's brought and like in what kind of environment like you interact with it. Like if you're exposed to it like very early on, and like you're kind of exposed to it in like a bad way, like you kind of like have to like sneakily watch it, and then like if people find out like they're like, dad, like, oh it's so bad, like you're gonna get a oh it's so bad thing. But a lot of times also like when it comes to like watching like things that are supposed to be for older kids, like if you're the youngest in the family and like you got older brothers or sisters who are already watching that older stuff, a lot of times like, yo, come watch this, it's really cool. Like I think there's a greater tendency for like it to like go over smoother than like it scoring people. But then again, like it can be very different for every single kid, and like it's definitely a very vulnerable stage. So yeah, it's something which like there is caution to be considered.
Okay. I think we've covered a lot on just dubs existing in general. Is there a place for dubs? I think the answer is yes, there is a place for dubs, but there is a place for modified dubs just as unmodified, right? And realistically, we want the option to have both, right? If you're gonna if you're gonna do a dub and you're gonna change things, please at least give the option to have an unmodified version. So one question I have for you guys, unless Nasuth, you have anything you want to follow that up with?
Actually, I do, kind of.
Oh?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't super important, but since you asked, how do you feel when, like, the dubbed lines differ from the subtitles that are on the screen? Like, if you have both of them on at the same time?
Okay, first off, I don't mind if the dub lines are slightly different. As long as they convey the same message, that is fine, right? But if they convey a different message, it's like, well, why the did you change it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes the voice actors are given, right, you have to follow the lip flaps. And it's very difficult to follow the lip flaps, especially when in English we have syllables that in Japan they don't exist, right? So again, making sure that the sentence structure is, it matches, right? So again, I don't mind them changing it. The one thing I'd love them to do is actually have subtitles that match the English dialogue, as well as subtitles that match the Japanese dialogue.
Yeah. What about you?
No, I agree.
Okay, but to follow up on what Nasuth just asked, how do you feel when they change the voice actor between seasons?
I miss Sean Connery in Overlord. All right, I'm just gonna say it.
I can't, dude. I can't. It took me. I think like for Detective Conan in the sub, like halfway through, which is like episode like I don't know 400, 300, 500 somewhere, like they changed one of the main characters' voice actors, like the main character, and it's like oh, it took me like 100 episodes to get used to that. It is so weird. Yeah, no, I can't. I don't know. Like for me, it's so weird. I can't send it. It's like you get used to someone's voice. Yeah, I don't know. I can't do it.
So a big one for me was in High School Double D, where I think they managed to maintain the whole cast except for the main protagonist, Issei Hyodo, right? Where the first 2 seasons it is one voice, and then the second 2 seasons it's a completely different voice, and they don't sound anything alike, right? Nothing alike. And a part of me questions how on earth is the same voice actor in Japan able to do the same. So one voice actor is able to do the same character across not only 4 seasons, but 4 additional OVAs or 4 additional specials or anything like that. How on earth are they able to retain the same one actor, whereas in the Western world they don't do that? I don't know if they don't care to do that, or they don't care to wait for that person to become available. It feels very, why the fuck do you do this? like, just get the original back. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It probably has something to do with contracts and money and, you know, behind the scenes stuff like that.
Budgets, maybe. Like, I don't know. Obviously, the industry in Japan is bigger, and you'll have like more talent to choose from. Maybe, I guess. I don't know. It's weird though.
Voice acting is probably seen as more of a like good profession, whereas over here, you know, it's better to be a real actor than a voice actor, even though that's dumb.
I think it's picking up, especially in something like video games. I remember video games used to be voice acting wasn't really a big thing that people used to do, and now it's really picked up quite a bit. That said, I don't know if you all seen the Halo live action that's coming up. They just released a trailer for it.
No.
But yeah, there's going to be a Halo live action series. It's very interesting because in the Planet of the Covenant, so many years in the future, like, no, the Planet of the Covenant, like one of the planets that they get on very far in the future, there's already a Chevy truck somewhere standing around where it's like, whoa, interesting, they made it there. But Master Chief looks quite good. He's got a different voice though, which kind of sucks. So I'm kind of like, man, like if you always get his helmet on, like why don't you just, you know, use the original voice actor? And Cortana's design is quite controversial by the community, basically. But yeah, overall, yeah, I have no idea what this is going to be like. But yeah, that's changing voice actors as well. It's like, oh, it's weird. Like people get used to it, especially when there's like if there's a good voice, like it can make or like it can literally make or break a series. So especially for like a main character, I cannot understand, except when it's like budget reasons, like it has to go out right now, or maybe the person has like passed away or is no longer doing it anymore, then like you have no other choice. But if you have the choice, why the hell would you not go for it, man? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I
go on.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Like, I just looked up Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo. The first instance of Ryoko was in '92 and is played by the same voice actress in 2020. Right?
She probably loves the role though. She's like a classic voice actress.
Well, still, I feel that there's a missed beat here that could maybe solidify the voice acting industry in the States, where, you know, it's a case of like maybe they can't when voice actor signs up for a role, they are effectively permanently in that role. Their contract basically brings them for that character. It safeguards the character so that the company can't swap out the voice actor, but maybe it safeguards the company that the voice actor can't inflate his costs too much, right?
Well,
so
like how realistic is that in the sense of, hey, let's say, because with like a lot of seasonal anime or like a lot of anime that start out, a lot of series that start out, you don't know where it's going to do one season, you don't know where it's going to be super popular, it's going to do many seasons. So I can imagine with voice acting, you, especially with dubbing, like here in Holland, we have a very our dub voice actors are like a very small pool. Like if you watch like Dutch television like Nickelodeon or Fox Kids, like you'll see like these like characters, like you'll recognize the voices everywhere.
Yeah.
So like, I can imagine like voice actors.
It's like back in the early '90s when Lorenzo Music was in everything.
Yeah. So I can imagine that these voice actors may do like a whole bunch of series, or they're like, hey, let's go, and let's say like they have a time in their life where they have a lot of like spare time, or where they need the money, or like let's say there's a time in their life where they can do a lot of series. So they just like go for like a bunch of series. They do these they do these jobs, and a lot of them, like I'd imagine, are like, hey, you know, we'll just do one season. We'll see if it catches on. If it doesn't, well, you know, like tough luck. You'll have to find something else. Like I can imagine a lot of these jobs may be like that because you don't know where it's gonna pop off. So let's say that like some voice actor does some of these lines, right? And then like the series doesn't really pop off, and then like he does more jobs, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, you know, I found the love of my life, and like it's on the other side of the world. I'm financially capable of doing that right now. I found another job there, so I'm gonna move over there. But now, like the series has popped off, and there's like this one, it's like this entire cast minus the one character there, and now all of a sudden this like job that he had like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years ago is like, well, you got to be back here because we have a contract. You got to be here. It's like, isn't that at that point in time maybe a little bit unreasonable?
Maybe this already exists. Maybe it's a simple case, because like, obviously we're guessing at this point. Maybe that's already the case in point, and the voice actor can turn around and say like, no, I don't want to come back for this role. But at the same time, it's like, it feels that if the same voice actress can play the same character for nearly 30 years, right? Why does this not happen in other parts of the industry, right? Like, look at The Simpsons. The Simpsons hemorrhaged so many of their characters that weren't voiced by the main subset of characters because, you know, they wanted to save on money. They wanted to bring in special guests and shit like this. Oh, let's get Ewan McGregor in. Let's get Patrick Stewart in, things like that, as opposed to just keeping the cast available. Right. You know, it's so maybe in situations where no, I'm no longer available, fine, right? But at the same time, it feels to me not enough is done for the voice actors. Maybe I'm just talking shit out of my ass. Maybe I'm just like, you know, blowing smoke and I haven't got a fucking clue what I'm talking about. But it just feels like, why does this exist in Japan but not in the West?
I think that like it's like there's the anime industry in Japan is definitely bigger, so like I can understand that, like, hey, you know, you're definitely seeing differences there where you may see voice actors be more closely tied to, like, for instance, One Piece has been running for like also 25 years or so by now. Like, that's insane, and it's still mostly the same voice actors. So it's like a really long commitment, and why can they do it over there, and why can they not do it like in other countries?
Some of it's probably, again, some of it's probably cultural, right? Because it's seen as a bigger thing in Japan.
It might be cultural, but it might also be like how involved you are in the sense of, so I don't know much about voice acting, but I do. But I have met some people who did voice acting, for instance, in the gaming industry. And you have met this person too, Drew, who's done like voice acting for a very popular game. Voice is one of the main characters in that game. And I think the reason why she does the voice acting there and why that happens to be like her role is because she was very closely tied to that game. Now, like, this person also has other roles within like that company, and like it's very closely tied to that company, and I cannot imagine that she would leave like that company within any like close span of time. But let's imagine that this game would also have a localization somewhere else, maybe a localization in Japan. Maybe in Japan you would have like really stellar voice actors that would be able to fulfill that role. But that would mean that, let's say that this game updates with a new quest once a year, maybe once every like 1.5 years, you know, depending on their schedule. It's like, if that's your only job to do these voice lines for this one game, it's like, it's a way different like pay scale, it's a way different dedication to the job, it's a way different, like, even you may be like as much invested as you may be like to that character and to the job, like it's a way different situation and work environment that you're in than like in the original setting. So I can imagine that, let's say you're working at like Toei Animation with like this 25-year long series, and like you've been working with like the original creator, and like you've been working with like, you're working with the people that are like making, you know, the animations. You may be very more closely involved, and you may be paid better, like your circumstance may be different, so it's more likely that you're going to be tied to the studio. So there may be cultural differences, but it may also just be that because of the setting and because of your involvement with the company, that if an American or like a British voice actor would have the same like involvement with a company locally as well there, like they would stay, like it would be the same, but it's just a different like work situation because they only need to do the voice lines like once every while that this thing comes out.
A part of me wonders if like part of the problem, I'm wondering, is it a case of if voice actor changes, will like the Japanese. I don't think anime is as big in Japan as we would want it to be, right? I feel that anime is as much of a subculture of Japan as much as football fans are a subculture of England. Like, barely anyone I know has any personal interest in football, right? I actually have more work colleagues that are interested in football than the other way around. But that's not to say every British person is interested in football. And likewise, I don't think every Japanese person, far from it, is interested in anime, right? But a part of me wonders, is it because if they change the voice actor in Japan, that anime is just going to flop massively, right? Because they changed it, right? Is it accepted more in the West if they change the voice actor than it is in the East? That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know. I just don't know enough about Japanese culture for this one.
It also depends on, do people know that it is localized? So, for instance, a lot of stuff that was localized from English to Dutch were Disney movies or like Disney like Pixar stuff. And what we would find there is sometimes what you would see with these movies, especially if they franchise into like multiple parts, if the English voice actor died, which happens sometimes, they would write away that character so they wouldn't like have to do the voice lines. But like if the Dutch voice actor died, well, tough luck, the character was still going to be in there. So we were more used.
You're talking about Disney movies that they would do that with those too. Like, so you had Aladdin, and then you had the sequel to Aladdin that didn't have any of the same voice actors except maybe Gilbert Gottfried. So maybe stuff like that has made it more acceptable over here.
Could be. Like, I actually don't think I may have watched it, but I used to watch old Disney stuff in Dutch because like that's what I grew up with. But I remember just being used to it, and also there were these. Remember, like, I don't know if you guys remember the time where maybe you were too old for this, but there was a certain time where, like the High School Musical time, when all of a sudden like Nickelodeon and Fox Kids they just started like doing all these like live action shows like iCarly and shit with like real actresses, real actors. However, the thing with that is like lip syncing on that is horrible. You cannot like you're gonna have to dub that, but you're gonna have to dub over that, and you're gonna have to like dub Dutch words over someone speaking English. It looks horrible. And I remember the first time I watched that, I could not stand watching that stuff because it looked so weird. However, like give it a week or two and your brain adopts. And like I remember like at a certain point in time, because my sister was really into these shows, so like they would just be on like the telly when in the living room, because that's the way that you viewed content back then. So like I remember like I wasn't watching them all that much, but then like I would come down I'd look at the telly and be like, damn, I can't even like, I know it's a dub and I know it's horribly done because like I remember looking absolutely awful, but like I can't tell right now. It's just natural to me. So I think it's also like something, if you know it's a localized version and maybe a voice actor changes, like, yeah, I get it, because that's something that tends to happen. So like you're kind of like adjusting to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest localizations of anything was did have both of you seen Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah. No, I still haven't seen that one. It's fine though. Feel free to spoil it.
It's not really a spoiler, but Michelle's going to be able to understand this a lot more. In Captain America and the Winter, there's a part where very early on, Steve Rogers is running around. I don't know the Lincoln statue, Nasuth.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a big water feature between the Lincoln statue and the
I believe
Washington
it's called
Monument.
the reflecting pool, I think.
Right, okay. So that water feature, basically Steve Rogers is jogging, jogging, right, at breakneck speed around the reflecting pool, and Sam Wilson, who is the Falcon, is also jogging around it. But Steve Rogers is constantly overtaking him, right? He is a super soldier after all. But towards the end of the jog, Sam Wilson is, advising Steve to check out this pop culture reference, and he writes it in a notebook, and you get a glimpse of into the notebook, right? But in different areas, it says different things, right? Different pop culture things, right? So it was really interesting to find out things like, I think we in the UK had Star Trek, right? Star Trek was in this list, but I don't think it was in America. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, so it was really interesting to see that this localization was done in such a forefront way.
Interesting.
So again, I can easily imagine like that appearing between the dubs and things for anime.
Oh yeah, as digital technology gets better and better, they're gonna do more stuff like that. They could probably even manipulate the mouths to match better if they wanted to.
They shouldn't. That's for fan dubs only. Right, okay. Then the next 2 points, unless you guys have anything you want to discuss.
I did have one other one. So sort of the converse of, do you mind when the voice actor changes? I want to say growing up, I saw at least 2 different versions of Dragon Ball Z. Like as I was watching, they changed the dub. And I don't think I even noticed at first. It was only on rewatches that I was like, oh.
I did. I remember I was 2 or 3 years back. I wanted to go for the entire Dragon Ball Z thing because it was kind of just before my time. Then it wasn't as big as it was in the US or in the UK. So I went over it, and then I swapped from, what was it? I think Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball C. Yeah. And then Dragon Ball Z had completely different voice, and I had to search and search and search until I found the right ones. Because you get attached to them.
Yeah, there's 4 different versions of Z. 4 different dubs of Z, at least.
It was so weird. Because it was all English. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, speaking of the graphics and stuff, the things that they changed in the Winter Soldier. I'm linking you guys a video by Captain Dissolution. It's the latest video by Captain Dissolution. If you're not if you haven't seen Captain Dissolution yet, very cool creator. He's been around the platform for a really long time. He makes very, very high quality videos. The thing he dives into right now is the Great British Bake Off or the Great British Baking Show, depending on which region you're from. I think in the UK it's called the Great British Bake Off, but in the US Disney has patented Bake Off, so they had to be changed to the Great British Baking Show. But then they have this transparent plate or so that you get as a trophy or so. So on that is stamped the Great British Bake Off. However, they had to change that in the what's it called, the US version to say the Great British Baking Show. So then Captain Dissolution shows how they actually do that, and it's really fun to see. It's a really cool thing if you're curious about how to do it. But they definitely do change things, even in just real life things on objects. Just change the logos around so that they don't, say
That's amazing
words.
It's so crazy.
I have a question for you both. It should hopefully be a really quick one. Is there any Japanese dub that the original source, any anime with the Japanese audio where you cannot stand a voice actor so much or actress, you prefer the English dub instead?
It's with shows that I've gotten to know in the English voice actors. That's one of the reasons when you ask me about what shows would you would you bring up or so, that would be the One Piece, Toriko, Dragon Ball Z special. A couple years back, like Toriko was a brand new anime that launched, and like what did they do? They launched it with like a special crossover episode with One Piece, and then with Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball was going to be doing Dragon Ball Super, and Toriko and One Piece are both animes that I started watching subbed. Dragon Ball was one which I started watching dubbed because it just fits, and then I started watching the crossover, obviously subbed, and I was like, this doesn't make sense because like Goku's voice is so different. It is like a world apart in what's it called in Japanese than it is from English. So I'm like, okay, but if I go back to English, then like, my God, I cannot watch One Piece in English. I cannot watch Story. It doesn't make sense. Like the entire thing should have been like the coolest thing in the world because they were serious, which at the time like I was super invested into. It just came out at the right time for me. But I was like, there was no version where I couldn't watch this and be like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's weird. So that was like, to me, like the pinnacle of like, oh man, like half the cast I'm super familiar with, and half the cast just sounds completely weird, and I'm just gonna have to like imagine in my head how this sounds. And then I was like, maybe at some point I can, I can find the two versions online, and I can, mash them together, and like have one half speak English and one half speak Japanese, and then like it will work in my brain. But that probably will never work because I don't know, that would be a weird hodgepodge of like, oh no, dude, that'd be strange. But yeah, that was for me. Dragon Ball, for instance, like I cannot really watch. Like Japanese because I'm too used to English. So like if I've seen it in another language and I'm used to that, it's super hard for me to switch. I just can't stand it. Even though they do a stellar job, it's not something I'm familiar with.
Like for me, Dragon Ball Z is definitely up there because like, so the English voice actor, even the Team 4-Star, Dragon Ball Z Abridged, the voice actor that they have for Vegeta, in English and in Japanese, they sound very similar. They sound very like the cadences in the voice are definitely there and everything. It's But Goku is the difference between night and fucking day, right?
Yes.
Right? The Japanese, I don't care what the English one sounds like, but the Japanese one sounds like at the ripe old age of 2, Goku was chain smoking like hydrochloric acid based cigarettes about 100 a day because like, what the hell is up with that voice? Right?
You two are crazy. You two are crazy.
I just fucking can't do it. I'm concerned at what Goku sounded like as, Goku from Dragon Ball, the original.
About the same, like, actually. Same voice actor.
Hell.
Yeah.
It's like, right, but there's one.
Sorry, same voice
character.
actress.
Yes, yeah. There's one character I do not understand. Like, I don't know how people don't put their. Is that not the name? I swear that was the name of the. I thought the show was called Black Clover. Oh no, not characters. I want anime. Sorry. There's one. I watched apparently a whole 2 episodes before I gave up the will to live. And the character's name is Asta, right? And his voice was on a whole new league of grating to my ears. I just couldn't watch it. I couldn't do it. I just could not fucking do it. It is so bad.
If she featured more, I think the cat person in Battle After 5 Seconds would have just driven me crazy. Because her.
Oh no. Trust me, Asta's worse. Asta's the main character. Asta's so much worse.
Yeah.
I think Michelle may have gone off to go find a trailer or something. He may have. Or he's just frozen in place.
Damn.
Have you found it?
Damn, yeah.
It's painful. It is so painful listening to Asta. I just couldn't bring myself. Like, okay. I know. So a mutual friend, DK Diamantes, who we've had on Kanpai Cast before, he actually likes Black Clover. He cannot watch it in Japanese either. Like the voice actor is just You know, I complained about chain smoking 100 a day from the ripe old age
Yeah,
too.
no, definitely,
right?
definitely. That
Asta's just a fucking cheese grater in your throat.
honestly,
yeah. Right.
Honestly, like it's so weird. It's so weird. Oh my god. Yeah. I was like, it can't be that bad. It cannot be that. It's that bad.
It is so that bad. Right. Okay. So my I think my last question, because you know, I don't want this to be too long. Distribution rights. So, if you think about it, a lot of these companies in the West, they purchase distribution rights for a show, for like an anime to be solely distributed by them, and they can add their own dubbing and stuff like this to it. And then in a case of Evangelion, the Netflix ended up paying a small fortune, I think it was like $1 million, to be able to redistribute Evangelion on Netflix. Right? How do you feel about the way distribution is done of anime in the West?
I mean, anytime you're talking about America and rights holders, you're dealing with like just an insane morass of legality issues and just the minutia of copyright and our laws are a mess over here on that front.
So I'll say on like the open YouTube version of this show, I'll say, yeah, you should watch the rights holders version, and it's fun. Pay for your subscription. In the Patreon version, which you should watch if you're not a lawyer and you do not work as like in any
I will point
legal
out there's
capacity,
only one version of this show, but okay.
I will say, who cares? No, I mean, yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, especially with like the rise of like in the internet, especially with like streaming services and stuff. I think that we're at an interesting stage where 10 years ago, like Netflix was this like great like enterer of the new age, where oh my god, instead of having to pay for all these like TV channels and pay for all these movies, like Netflix is the one place that has it all, and that's what a lot of people bought into. That's what a lot of people thought was a great thing about it. But now there are so many different services, there are so many different subscription things. I think that what we're seeing now is that like it kind of like entices people again. Like I think a lot what comes around with, you know, piracy and stuff when it comes to like people like wanting to like, because like that's kind of what you get around with. It's like if people like need to like want to watch a show but it's behind like a subscription service, I don't think a lot of like piracy and stuff like that, and like watching it in like illegal ways, comes around to people not wanting to pay money. It's all about how easy it is. So if I have Netflix and Netflix just like bought the rights to Evangelion, I'm oh yeah dude, let's go watch it, woo, I'm excited. But if I'm already subscribed to like Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, this and that, Crunchyroll, and then Amazon Prime comes around, oh no, like Netflix comes around, purchases like the rights to Evangelion, that's the one show I wanted to watch. I'm not interested in anything of Netflix. Like, my god, like it becomes more appealing. So I think that when it comes to like these distribution things, when it comes to like purchasing the rights to things, and yeah, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, I think that, you know, laws should be upheld and people that have the right to something should, you know, be paid for that. But at the same time, like this exclusivity stuff is kind of like, it sucks hard. And I'm curious to see, maybe like the gaming industry might be an inspirational thing or not. Because like right now we're having huge acquisition things, so like with Sony buying a Bungie, and we have Microsoft acquiring like Activision Blizzard and Bethesda, and so far Microsoft and like PlayStation have said that, you know, we're gonna honor like the releases on their platforms. We're gonna not like make all these studios like exclusively make content for us. But then again, Destiny 2 has said like, oh yeah, we have all the intentions of keeping it like cross-platform, and we are for sure gonna do the next update cross-platform on every platform. But they're not saying like we're gonna do this forever. So they're just saying they have the intentions. So like I'm really curious, like does that just stay within like 1 year, or like from now on everything will go exclusive? If it doesn't, and like they still succeed, maybe that will also open up the way where it's like, hey, you know, something like Disney can have like the rights to a lot of their properties, but they can still like license it out, or like, you know, have a way in which it's also available on other services, because I think that that's the biggest problem. There's so many services right now. So if one purchases the rights and it's like, oh, I gotta be subscribed to 10 right now, this becomes insane, dude. It becomes insane.
Yeah, I mean, you do also have to kind of worry about monopolies when you're getting these companies to be bigger and bigger, but I see your point.
A part of me feels that there's value in being able to distribute anime to
Multiple outlets?
the West. No. Like so for the big case of Evangelion, which I think we actually have on here somewhere. Is it N? Yep, there he is. So the big case of Evangelion was the fact that originally ADV had the distribution rights to Evangelion. Then when ADV collapsed, my understanding is that the distribution rights ultimately fell back to the original Japanese studio, right? Yeah, they didn't transfer to Funimation because Funimation. They weren't around when ADV had bought the license or distribution rights to Evangelion originally, and the big thing is that when it went away, Netflix then bought the distribution rights again and was able to distribute it worldwide. The ultimate question I have is, because these services are becoming so gosh, how do I put this, locked down in flexibility. Like if you want to watch The Legends of Vox Machina, you have to have an Amazon Prime account. If you want to watch Disenchantment, you have to have a Netflix account. If you want to watch Superstore in the States, you have to have was it a Hulu account, Nasuth?
Yep. Yeah.
You know, then we got HBO Max. We got like this. It's becoming absolutely mind-bogglingly insane to all these different distribution platforms. And the big question I have is, why is the internet a worldwide phenomenon being treated as a local TV broadcasting platform?
Yeah.
Right? You know, I can't receive TV shows from the States on my Sky satellite box. Well, at my parents'. You know, I can't receive the Japanese channels from my Sky, the box of my parents. It has to be routed through the internet. So why is the internet being treated as this localized domain?
Because these laws that were put in place for TV are still lingering. Like the rights and distribution and all that was designed for cable companies, and they were still like, this channel can only show this show until it enters syndication, and it's stuff like that. It's really kind of funny in a weird way. We went from cable, and people were like, man, wouldn't it just be great if you had one place where you could watch all this stuff? And then Netflix and Hulu came along. I was like, oh man, this is amazing. We've got everyone's putting their stuff, even the new shows are coming out on these two platforms. And then everything else came along, and suddenly it's like cable again, where you've got 15 million different shows, only it's even worse because they're not under one package, so you have to pay for them individually.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the thing that really surprised me with the internet ever since, like, it's been more mainstream adopted, the things that people are trying to, like, geo-restrict things, and I'm like, dude, it's on the internet. It's like, I have access to the internet. don't be an idiot. It's like, why are you being like so pedantic? But I can imagine that when it comes down to like, it's a giant like rabbit hole to go down. It's like, hey, let's say that I create like, okay, so recently there was this big thing in like YouTube, in the anime YouTube sphere, of this YouTube creator by the name of Totally Not Mark, where if you're not familiar with him, he made some really cool videos where he went,
we spoke about it last week.
Okay, so you guys know Totally Not Mark. He made great videos, but the thing is, like, he ended up like stopping the pursuit of like trying to convince Toei of releasing the claims. And what I've also seen, like, people comment on is like, hey, you know, you're making a point which like Europeans or Americans or like more Western societies understand, where it's like, hey, you know, it's like fair use. You're transforming the content. You're not taking away from it. You're not saying people like should watch your videos and not like the series you're discussing. You're actually making the case why people should be watching them. So it's fair use. However, in Japan, apparently this is way different, and this person went on to explain like this is actually like to Japan, like, this is unheard of. Like, you're actually profiting off of like these animators' really hard work that are being paid like low wages compared to what you as a YouTuber are being paid. So like it's like scandalous basically, and then you coming around and saying like, oh, we will block, like, we will not watch your content, we'll boycott it. Like that just comes up as very rude, because we have different like legal systems around here. And then it's like, well, so if I post something which is like in a certain legal system here in my country, does that like grant me the right to then just, you know, screw your rules in your country? And that becomes a really weird thing where it's like, well, you know, but then it should be like the most free country basically. So like, basically, so if I can post this, but then there's this other country where like it's all right, then, you know, you should be able to bend the rules. Like those rules you then not count because you can do that here. It's like, well, then you get those countries where, you know, people will like send all their money to, because, you know, there's no taxes on there. So like you will have one country where there are no rules, and all of a sudden everyone is like copying each other's works because, oh well, there's this one website where copyright doesn't count in this country, so everyone can just copy shit. Like, that's not gonna work. But if you're gonna say like, let's do the strictest rules, dude, that's not gonna work at all, because all our internet is gonna be like China's internet then. So it's like it's a really weird thing where, honestly, it's kind of surprising the internet like kind of has functioned the way that it does right now. But yeah, I really understand very well. It's like, dude, the geo restrictions, it's so dumb. I'm like, dude, I'm on my computer connected to the internet. You're on the internet. Like, get out of here, dude. Get out of here. It's stupid.
Laws are slow to change, and a lot of the people that are making the laws or able to change the laws right now don't understand technology. So
God, yeah.
They're not a good place to update this stuff.
Well, actually, one more thing, which I just read today on the headlines, speaking of like localization and local rules, there has been a big thread towards Europe right now, and that is actually coming in the form of a big company deciding to maybe pull out of Europe if they do not change their rules soon, and that is Meta. Facebook and Instagram are threatening to pull out of Europe if Europe doesn't change its data privacy regulations, to which I say, please do. Please get the hell out of here.
They lost like over $100 million, I think, because of that announcement.
Yeah.
200.
Yeah. It's
because of the announcement.
Ooh. Yeah.
No.
Was it not the announcement?
No. They lost. Their stock went down with 25%, which is the largest recorded like drop in history for Facebook. Because they have been they're not making their revenue targets, mainly because Apple has like last year come around and set the like be tracked at all times feature to be an opt-in. So right now on like iPhones, if you download the Facebook app, like right now it says, and that right now asks the user like, do you want to be followed the entire time, have like a tracking, like it asks the user whether it wants to have all these things turned on, and the user can say no. And they did not know that, like most users, so they now turn no, because you don't want, like most people don't want to be followed around by, you know, by their apps.
Zuckerberg.
Like if you go into apps like Facebook Messenger or something like that, we talked about WhatsApp like months ago, where basically WhatsApp was rolling out this update where it could like list your phone number and all the phone numbers of the people in like your address book and like store them and like connect them to profiles and stuff. Like people don't want that stuff if they know about it, but if they don't know about it, like they'll never turn it off. But because Apple made an opt-in, they've been losing out a lot of money, like a lot of money. So the announcement that they were going to lose that much money just make the shares drop by 25%, losing $200 billion in value. And like this announcement of them threatening to pull out of Europe has only been made basically today. And tomorrow the market's open, so we'll see what's going to happen.
Bit of a deviation, but still interesting.
I wonder if they'll lose yet more. But anyway, so what was I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? Right. I think I had one more point I wanted to. Nope, that was it. So personally, we spoke a bit about the whole copyright stuff last week for Japan. Japan does not have the same freedom of use. They don't have the fair use stuff that the rest of various other countries have. Not every country has fair use, and a lot of countries have different degrees of fair use. But the big thing is that Japan doesn't have that because Japan has, very securely locked down their what's the name of the privacy laws and things like that. So for example, you can't film in a train station, even though it's a public place. You can't film in a train station without some form of consent from someone, right? From an official. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can't film in a hotel. Again, same reasons. Like we see I don't know if you guys follow Trash Taste at all, or if anyone listening follows Trash Taste at all, but they do specials and they have to get consent from pretty much everyone involved up the corporate chain to whether or not this video can A, be recorded and then B, distributed, right? So they are very, very strict with that sort of stuff. So the plan is I'm going to Japan at the end of September, and people are like, oh yeah, get videos and things like that. I don't even know if I'll be able to, right? Like I was just planning on going and enjoying a holiday. That's it. But,
fair enough.
Would that have something to do with the 2018 incident, or has it been around for longer?
No, it's been around for much longer. It's again, it's just a case of privacy and stuff like that, whereas so in the UK, for people that don't necessarily know, you cannot record anyone in a private setting without their informed consent, right? So for example, if I am recording a meeting between me and my boss, and my boss is unaware of the recording, right? Well, that is inadmissible in court because I did not obey the law, right? However, if I have this conversation with him in Starbucks, right? Or I have this conversation with him out in the corridor of my apartment building, that is considered, fair game because anyone could be listening. You decided to have that conversation in a location that was not secure, right? So this is why
that also makes it interesting. Like, let's say that you were to have the conversation, like let's say right now I was your boss and you were you, and we were having a conversation and you'd be now sitting down in your room and I'd be sitting down in my room. That'd be private. But let's say that you were to now get up and stand in your hallway, and just let's say you were on your phone and you just walked into your hallway and you just started talking from there. Like now you have moved and technically you are in a public place right now because you are in your hallway. Would you be able to record?
No, because people can't hear both sides of the conversation, right?
If you're in loudspeaker, let's say.
But then you have to actually announce that on loudspeaker.
Yeah, but let's say that you're because imagine you're walking through the street with your phone on loudspeaker, and your FaceTiming sort of thing. Then people know. Or even weirder, let's say that you are from a U.S. state where there is a no consent record policy.
So in the situation where you said like the whole FaceTime thing, where they could visually see that I was out in public, right? Then I can record that because they are they basically have the knowledge that I was out in public as I was recording it, right? But if it was a case of, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
but like, but like, let's say technically your hallway is a public place, then you would right now just have to move like your setup with a camera, like like let's say it's a mobile setup, just walk through your door to your like into your hallway, and technically that would be a public setting.
Yes, that is correct.
However, he would still be in the private confines of his room.
But
welcome to Kanpai Cast, where we discuss the delicate legalities.
Oh god, yeah, tell me about it. But if I had my headphones on while having the call, that's a private call. Yeah. So it's you know, it's all sorts of weird and wonderful crap like this. But like Japan just basically slapped the big thing of nope, privacy, fuck off. Can't do that. Privacy law, fuck off.
Honestly, it's
privacy.
It's quite cool if you look at like how much, you know, the big tech is trying to take away from privacy sort of thing. If you see how much data we've been giving away, dude, it's insane.
Fucking Facebook. Anyway, right? I think we've explored a lot of this topic. You know, I think ultimately the bringing anime dubbed to the younger generations, to the mainstream, it's important. It gives more credence for this sort of revenue to this cultural exchange to happen. Though we all feel that it's important to have a censored and uncensored version, right?
Well, I say if you're going to censor it, then there should be an uncensored.
Agreed. Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. Because stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen, you know, doesn't need a censored version. It should not be targeted at kids. So anyway, so we also question the process. Like, obviously we cannot make an informed decision on this one. Question the process about changing voice actors in the other dubs, you know, between seasons and things, and question how is Japan able to keep their like I want to know if anyone listening knows how they like managed to maintain this relationship. Please, you know, fill in the blanks. I'm so interested to know. You know, it's a question I've had for years. Anyway, and then what was the and then there's the whole distribution rights. Should the internet be treated like localized geolocations, or, you know, should the laws apply?
All you need to know is that the internet is not a dump truck. It's a series of tubes
that run underneath the ocean, actually.
Right. Okay.
That said, I think there's one more very important point to add before we end, and that is that you know, I've had a wonderful time being a guest. I don't know, like, if you're super close.
We're not ending just
yet.
We're
not ending. But I just wanted to make one thing very clear, and that is that in no way, shape, or form am I affiliated with the show, and that's why my statements that I make on here are not to be accounted for, like what the people on the show thinks. If any, like, you know, like, people want to sponsor the show, please do, because like I'm not part of the show, okay? Yeah. The reason I'm saying this, like, sometimes I might be like, you know, a pretty bit like, you know, like straight through, and like that might cause you some trouble. I hope I haven't been that much today.
We're really pushing for that Disney Plus sponsorship.
That's why I just wanted to say that today, because, or right now actually, because we're talking subs versus dubs, and I just wanted to say, fuck every single streaming service out there. I hate you guys very much. Because you have ruined fan subs. Fan subs were the best thing in the world, and now I just have to see these blank, boring subs. There's not even translator notes or like animated graphics when someone does a super ability. How am I supposed to be excited when someone does a super ability? It's just like blank text. I'm like, oh my god.
Where did the translated subtitles for the intro and outro go, huh?
Yeah.
I like the bobbing. I needed the bobbing to know what part of the song. Yeah, I know.
I love the outros where it's like, I don't fucking care about this shit anymore. Thank God I didn't have to do this anymore. I'm so tired of subtitling this shit. Dude, it was fantastic.
Oh, them's were the days.
Oh man,
Right.
bring it back, please.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the supporter questions. So, Zrugal asks, before I read out Zrugal's question, I want to say thank you all for listening to our podcast so far. We really appreciate all the likes and comments everyone leaves on the episodes. And we do read them all. He didn't write this part. We do read them all. So please, and if you're lucky enough, you might get read out during the course of the episode. Right.
Yeah.
So Zrugal asks, why do you pronounce router like router? Because you go on a route. You are routing something.
No, it's a router. Come on. You take a route. He's gonna come over here and like drop a dictionary on me.
What do you call that 66 thing, right? The route 66, wasn't that?
Yeah,
wasn't
route
that like
66. Route. You don't go route 66.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair
like
enough.
that's
you got me.
Actually, hey, can you help me here on this, like, Nasuth, because like you're pretty like close there, like America, right? You have Americans from America, okay?
Yeah.
Then why do you have Canadians, not from Canada?
Oh wait, and we
How
also
does that
have we also have Mexicans, not from Mexica. Mexicia. Yeah. Yep.
I don't get it.
You know, we are a magical people who took the English language, which was already a mess to begin with, and just said, let's bang some more stuff on here. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to point out, you're speaking like an old version of English that you didn't update and is pro-French. Throw that out there.
Yes, that is the problem with English, though. It's Germanic and French, and anyway, yes, go on.
So the next one, Thaylien Grumpy asks, how far apart do anime eyes have to be before it's too far? Right. I've seen some screenshots. I've seen some memes. The one that kind of weirds me out is actually one of the shots from Yakutate, Japan. But that's like no, don't make anime eyes too far apart. It gets weird and creepy.
They start to look like farm animals.
It depends on the character design, though. Because so some characters can have crazy like proportions with like the body, and like, it still works, right? And
the eyes should not be on the side of the face.
Yeah,
right.
If they look normal, except for the eyes,
there still needs to be space between the side of the face and where the edge of the eye is.
There was like this one. There are like characters in One Piece that just have eyes that like literally like pop out, and they're not supposed to be like people that have like abilities or something. That's just like the way that the characters.
That show has crazy character designs already.
Yeah, so
there are
like
characters in One Piece that don't have internal organs.
Yeah, true.
Right,
and they're gonna make a live action of this. Like how?
I don't fucking know, man. Right. Okay. And then Thaylien Grumpy asks, short enough for you, Loz?
But unfortunately, Loz was not here.
Loz is not able to...
By the way, there's one thing which I just wanted to say. Like, I've seen Thaylien's questions like around a bit. Like, you also did some of the Framecast. I have to say, like, Thaylien, like, they were so short. Like, maybe like you can make them a little bit longer. Like we have a theme, for instance, which just writes paragraphs. Like paragraphs.
You do not know.
You are waving the red flag right now.
Oh,
and the thing which I want to do right now is that I just want to make a really long question, especially for the next Kanpai Cast. For the next Kanpai Cast, is Loz going to be here next Kanpai Cast?
Should be.
Next Kanpai, really long. Really long.
But something that's just a yes or no answer at the end.
Yes, please.
Oh my god.
Better hope he doesn't watch
He's
this
gonna lose his
episode.
shit. He probably won't, but he will lose his shit. Right.
Yes.
Okay, so that is it for the supporter questions. We're now going to move on to the responses from last week. So, Cynical No-Lock. Japanese copyright laws are draconian. Most Japanese IP holders don't acknowledge free use. So you can't do things like reviews and stuff without written consent from the IP holder. In some regards, I kind of appreciate that fact, because you know there are people like fucking look at YouTube, right? Or TikTok or fucking Instagram Reels. The sheer volume of Instagram Reels are like, hey, here's a scene from Friends. Here's another scene from Friends. Here's another scene from the US Office. Here's another scene from Friends. It's just like, this is just all pirated. All of it's fucking pirated. So, to some degree, I kind of agree with how it works in Japan. At other points, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So, right.
It's also weird with, for instance, if you guys talked about the what's it called, the Totally Not Bark situation. Like Totally Not Bark wasn't really showing it was only showing the images mostly. It wasn't showing the audio. What if the images he had shown were from the American bought version, like the American licensed version, right? Within America.
No, but they don't have the distribution rights. So
doesn't America have distribution rights?
No, sorry, the American company buys the distribution rights from the Japanese company, right? But the Japanese company still owns the intellectual property.
True, but
if
it's an American distribution, it's distributed on American television, right? Like America has the laws where anything that is owned by anyone, anything that's owned, that's for instance on television, you can fairly use under the American copyright law.
But you would have to
This is why it's so messy.
So I got fucking hiccups again.
No.
You would have to prove that it's the American distribution and not the Japanese one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Japanese one, the Japanese legal system would turn around and say, that's the Japanese one, you've taken it from us. Mm-hmm. So you would have to prove that what you are using is not from the Japanese version.
Yeah.
So and it becomes super messy.
Yeah, anyway, and YouTube is not a help at all, dude. So
yeah. Can we pause 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm no longer hiccuping. So, Zrugol from last week. I saw the memes about My Dress Up Darling. I didn't know what it was. You giving it a glowing review. I'll have to watch this one too. Yep. Everyone should watch My Dress Up Darling. It's freaking amazing. However, currently it's stuck. It's hit a peak of 4.5 out of 5. It just needs that one little extra thing to make it 5. Right. Then the last one. Nick Evans says, damn it, Xena was supposed to say, Thaylien brilliantly asks, my joke was ruined. Thank you, Xeno. You're welcome. Right. So, I was confused by the name, okay? Right, okay, so now moving on to the memes for this week. So both Nasuth and I have 5 memes each. Go
do we
for
have a
it.
cool intro for this?
No, we don't. We just do it.
There.
What the
So
fuck?
this is how I feel a lot of the time. So imagine you're Dexter and I'm the caveman. Me showing old Dragon Ball Pokemon Weeb how anime has changed during the past decade. Because I basically didn't watch a lot of anime until we picked this up.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk away from your laptop, forget your headphones are still plugged in.
Yeah.
Yep. Meme number 3. My Dress Up Darling airs. Hentai artists. Our Dress Up Darling. Mm-hmm. Oh, because you know it's coming. It's coming.
It's already there. Right.
Oh, God. So
Oh my God.
we can't possibly make these any bigger. Nonsense. season 2. Nonsense. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, you really should. It's such a good series. It's so wholesome. It's such a good series. And there are some insanely ridiculous anime titties. But yeah.
And my final meme. My mom when I'm driving. My dad when I'm driving. Pub in 2 kilometers. You have a minute to get it.
I seen this one a while ago. It's a really good one.
Oh.
Right. Okay, so my first one. What yours is still in the background. Just clear them off. Clear them off real quick. All right, and then just
try that again.
Yep.
There we go.
There we go. Right, okay, cool. So, Japan taking down anime commentary channels. Fucking pirates. Yep. Second one. You find a good anime. It has no pop-up ad. It's 1080p. It doesn't lag. Spanish subtitles.
Oh, every time. Every time.
Yep. Third one. Weebs when they listen to dubstep instead of substep. I don't like this. I found this one ages ago, and I've been holding on to it for this episode.
Oh my God, you monster.
Right. Right. The fourth one. Working Friday and Sunday. Realizing you have off Sonobisque Doll Saturday. That's my dress up darling. Yeah. And then I'm very sorry the internet. I had to do this one. So this is off the latest episode of My Dress Up Darling, Thirsty Weaves. And then you have William Wallace with a giant straw.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
It's honestly, it's such a good series. Like, oh my God, you have to watch it. Seriously, I might actually try and wrangle Nasuth to watch them tonight.
Oh,
but yeah,
fine.
Right, okay, so that is it for this week's episode. Next week, we'll be having... Oh gosh, what was the... Oh no, I'm on the wrong month. We've got Separating the Art from the Artist with Nick from 2-Star Players. Again, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a very interesting series of conversations. I was kind of worried that we're just going to end up with like, what's better, double sub, and then just have nothing for another hour and a half.
And then you just be like in your one corner like screaming like sub, and I just be like dub, and like you know we just be like throwing pillows around and whatever, just be like you know big stinky fight. No, actually it was really enjoyable. It was like there was a whole bunch of things that we touched on. There was like a whole bunch of things. There's like, oh man, we could also talk about that, but time just flew right by. And I want to say like one more final thing. It's like your background is trippy. It's like it changes, but like I don't know when it changes exactly. Like you can never quite catch it. But then like you look back and it's like, oh man, like there's different characters there, but I didn't see that change. Okay, let me pay attention now. And then there comes a new meme, and it's like, okay, so let me quickly watch that new meme. It's like, oh wait, the background's changed again. Okay, then it changes when the meme changes, and like you watch the meme change. It's like, no, the background doesn't change. When does it change then? So yeah, if anyone can spot when the background changes, I guess that's your new challenge for like watching Kanpai Cast. See if you can spot when the background changes, because it does it at some point in time, but I don't know when. At some point
just did.
I was like, wow, he really picked the right time to look at the camera there. Okay, right. Signing this episode off, the usual Kanpai Cast way. 3, 2, 1.
Kanpai!